Thank you for joining me today. My name is Crawford, and I'm the Adult Services Librarian at the Ponte Vedra Beach Branch Library. And if you joined me today, it's likely because you belong to a book club that maybe needs a little spruce. Perhaps you want to start a brand new book club. Maybe you're interested in joining our book clubs that are in person at all 6 of our branches, including our Zoom book clubs, which are super convenient for those who work or have families or might not be able to make it into the library when we have our meetings. Or maybe you just want to have access to some really great reads that have a ton of discussion opportunities and are very engaging. And how do our library staff figure out which books to select for our book clubs? All of those questions are going to be answered here today. So September is National Library Card Sign-Up Month. So the first thing I want to encourage everybody to do, if you don't already have a St. Johns County Library card, is sign up for one. If you live in St. Johns County, a library card is absolutely free. It allows you to check out any of the materials in our 6 libraries and 2 bookmobiles. You can also download an array of different materials, ebooks, e-audiobooks. You can stream movies, music, TV shows, just about anything you can think of for free. You can access our public computers for up to 5 hours a day and loads more. So if you don't have a St. Johns County Library card yet, consider the smartest card in your wallet. Then stop by any of our 6 branches or 2 bookmobiles during hours of operation. And if you'd like to know the hours of operation for the St. Johns County Library branches or bookmobile, just go to www.sjcpls.org. So today's resources are things that you can access with your St. Johns County Library card for absolutely free, which is another reason that I wanted to promote them, and also because book clubs are something that a lot of people enjoy being a part of, and they don't know necessarily how they can join the library's book clubs, or maybe they're looking for ideas again to start their own book club, or maybe their book club needs a spruce, which brings us to our first book called Book Club Reboot 71 Creative Twists. Now, what's interesting about this book is initially it's aimed at library staff. Maybe library staff that's had a book club for a long time and in the brand new calendar year is looking for a way to reinvent their book club. Maybe give it a new twist, a new spin, just kind of freshen things up. If you've had a book club for a number of years, sometimes you can feel a little bit like you're stuck in a rut or you're ready to do something new or outside the box, and that's where this book comes in. Now, although it's aimed at libraries and their book clubs, it's applicable to anyone running a book club, whether it's you, someone in your neighborhood, one of your best friends, a family member. All of the ideas in here are applicable and things that you can use. So I really recommend reading it because it gives you lots of good ideas. Also, if you're starting a book club for the first time, this might be the launching off point for starting a book club that's a little bit more outside the box. Perhaps your readers, your members, enjoy reading nonfiction books and memoirs, so you want to make a nonfiction book club, which is not your typical book club. Oftentimes book clubs can be mostly fiction books. Or you want to do something else, like instead of maybe everybody reading the same book and coming together to discuss it, maybe perhaps do a genre book club where every month you pick a different genre and then everyone reads a book in that genre, brings it to the book club and talks about why they loved it, why they didn't, if they'd recommend it or not, and kind of gives their own little book talk about, what they enjoyed about the book, or maybe why this wasn't the best fit, but perhaps a different book would work. So lots of different ideas found here in Book Club Reboot 71 Creative Twists. So on to our next resource. One of the library staff's favorite resources to use when selecting books for book clubs is a website called Goodreads. And the great thing about Goodreads is it's a great way to kind of gauge interest and feedback about various books that you might be considering for your book club. Just because something's hit the New York Times bestseller list or has gotten a dozen accolades or it's been in the newspaper doesn't necessarily mean it's the best fit for your book club, because every book club is so different. Book clubs are driven by neighborhoods, communities, perhaps a circle of friends, and even in the libraries. You know, you're looking for diversity, but you're also looking for bringing people in with books that they would be interested in reading. So that's where Goodreads comes in. Now, of course, you have to make sure you watch out for any spoilers or anything, particularly if you haven't read the book yourself yet. But it's a great way to just see what does the general public think of some of these, you know, titles that you seem to be hearing about everywhere. Do they live up to the hype? Do they have any sorts of elements in the book that you should be aware of? Because the great thing about book clubs is they bring people together to talk about a variety of topics. Some of the topics are easy to talk about, some of them are difficult to talk about. I find the most interesting book clubs are not the ones that shy away from difficult topics, but as a moderator of the Ponte Beach Branch Library's Book Lovers Book Club, I also want to make sure I'm mindful of if there's anything in there that might be upsetting or triggering to someone. For example, if a book has a focus on rape, for example, that's not necessarily a reason to preclude the book, because it could be a very well-written story, a powerful story, an opportunity to discuss a variety of issues and impacts on the individual and the family and the community. But it's also something I'd probably want to give my book club a heads up about in case there's anyone in the book club for whom that might be too sensitive a topic for them to handle or to discuss. And one of the things that I always like to tell my book club attendees, and you may have heard this at your book club too, is that variety is a wonderful part of book clubs. It's a great way to get outside the normal genre or authors you usually read. It helps broaden your readership. But that said, just like at the library, where not every book is for every person, the books are bought with the community in mind, just not one person. The same is true for book clubs. And if something suits you in terms of a time, a date, a topic, a book, then that's great. We welcome you being there. If for any reason you have any conflicts, the time or date doesn't work for you, perhaps the topic is a little too sensitive for you personally, it's a book you've already read, it's a book you're not sure you're interested in reading, then that's fine too. Then that's not a meeting that necessarily you end up attending, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. So again, Goodreads can give you a very good sense about what to expect from a book and what the public is talking about and thinking about it. It can also be a great way to get some ideas about some really wonderful titles out there that spurn on a lot of different interesting conversations. These are some resources that absolutely connect to you having a St. Johns County Library card. And again, if you don't have one yet, stop by one of your 6 branches or 2 bookmobiles when they're open and get a library card today. It really is the smartest card in your wallet. The American Library Association doesn't just say that, they mean it, and we mean it here in St. Johns County Library System too. So for example, sometimes people have the time to come in and get print copies of books, and some people prefer print copies of books, and that's great. I actually like print and digital books for different reasons, for different occasions, and just what I'm in the mood for. The great thing about digital books is that you don't have to come into the library to get them. So if our hours don't work for you at a particular time, or there's any number of other, inconveniences or conflicts you might have in your day-to-day schedule that doesn't allow you to get in the library to get a print book, or you just prefer digital format, we have 2 databases that you're going to want to check out. Overdrive, which uses the Libby app. It has an older Overdrive app, but the Libby app is the really good one because she's going to be your best friend. She's very straightforward. She walks you through the whole process, and it's very streamlined. And then we also have a database called Hoopla. So there's ebooks in both of these databases. So for example, if you're running your own book club, you're a part of a book club, or you're part of one of the library's book clubs, definitely check out these resources because there's a real possibility that we have print copies and even digital copies of some of the books you're looking to read. So why buy the book every time for your book club when you can just borrow it for free? Who doesn't love free? So how do Overdrive and Hoopla work for you with a St. Johns County Library card? So here's the primary differences. Okay, so Overdrive is a database whereby library staff get to help select and purchase the ebooks and e-audiobooks that exist within it. So we utilize purchase requests, we utilize professional journals, we think about the books that we're reading for our book clubs and any number of other factors, and we help purchase the books that arrive in Overdrive. Hoopla, however, rolls out whatever Hoopla decides to put out into the database. So that's good and bad in both ways. Oftentimes there are some ebooks that are in Hoopla that for any number of reasons we can't necessarily get in Overdrive. So if you don't find it in Overdrive, do check in Hoopla. Another perk that Hoopla has, whereas Overdrive, it's one person per book and it's 2 weeks. So if the book is already checked out, you have to put yourself on a wait list. Whereas in Hoopla, every person can read any book that they want all at the same time. Now you're limited to only 7 checkouts per month in Hoopla. Whereas in Overdrive, you can check out any 10 items at any time throughout the month and request up to 5. But like I said, in Hoopla, the perk there is if you're looking for a really high demand book and Hoopla happens to have it, then you can read it right now. You don't have to wait. However, a lot of the high demand items generally end up being in Overdrive. And again, you can't put yourself on a wait list. You can even suspend your request just as you do with print requests. If you don't want it right away, but you want to go ahead and put yourself on the list, but you don't need it for 2 or 3 months, you can suspend your hold. So you keep moving up the list, but your request won't fill until the time you're ready for it. So that's one of the things that we look for when we're selecting books for our book clubs. We want to make sure that any books that we choose have a variety of formats that our patrons can employ to read the book. So it may be that they can read it in print, they can listen to an audiobook in their car, one of my personal favorites. They can download the ebook, they can download the e-audiobooks to their iPod. So there's a number of ways to read the book for your book club. So these are invaluable resources if you have a St. Johns County Library card, whether you're participating in our library's book clubs or one of your own. All right, last but not least, when you're in a book club or you're running a book club, as I do at the library, one of the things that really keeps the discussion going is good discussion questions. So sometimes it can be really hard to think of what sorts of questions that you want to ask beyond just, did you like the book, or what did you think of it, or what about this particular scene or this particular character? And that's where websites like readinggroupguides.com come in. And there's several other websites that we use to get those really juicy discussion questions. And so if you're worried about, oh, well, I don't know if I can see the address on this one, or what about those other websites, at the end of every presentation I give, I highlight all the books, all the databases, all the websites that I cover, plus additional resources. So make sure to stay tuned until the end so you can see all of those resources and jot them down and start using them. And again, the great thing about readinggroupguides.com and other websites like it is you just type in the title of the book and these wonderful discussion questions come out. Now, if you haven't already read the title, you want to be careful if you print out those questions. You don't want to spoil yourself. But the questions are great because I find that when you first come into a book club at the library, you spend a good 15 or 20 minutes just having everybody talk about, did they love the book, did they hate the book, why or why not, what was the overall impression of the book, were they glad that it was selected, things like that. Once you get that out of your system though, that's when the questions begin. That's where you really start to dive deep into the book and get into those discussion questions and really get the conversation going. And sometimes if you have a shy group of people in your book club, or if you yourself are shy, discussion questions are great because they don't ask you to generate your own response. You can think about the question and then just answer it and give your own feedback based on that question. So it's a great prompt, especially if it's a new group of people getting together to talk about a book, or maybe even if it's a difficult book to kind of start the ball rolling, or if you just have members, like I said, who are shy, or if you are shy and just need that little prompt to get going to talk about a book. So lots of great discussion guides can be found on readinggroupguides.com, lots of great discussion questions as well. And there are several other websites which will be highlighted right after this particular clip in my presentation. So you don't have to scramble and write everything down, but I do highly recommend having some really juicy discussion questions because, like I said, it can really help continue the conversation and help it flourish and help people engage with the book. Because book clubs are such a wonderful way to get together. They're a great way to get outside your reading genre or author box. They're a wonderful way to connect with other members in the community, find things that you have in common, and bond over something incredible, literature. A recent anecdote, we just brought back our Book Lovers Book Club in July for the first time in person since February 2020, which was the last meeting we had before the pandemic. And it was a small crowd, but that in no way invalidates how wonderful a crowd of people it was for our first book, The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. Because the women that came, and in this particular instance, all the attendees were women, but I want you to know that for our library's book clubs, we invite women and men of all ages because we want to hear all the different perspectives. But that particular discussion was just so illuminating and enlightening to me because the people in the room were of different ages and different backgrounds and different experiences, and they could speak to those experiences and in their life. And we learned not only so much about the book, but we learned a lot about ourselves and about other people in the community. And I noticed after the book club, 2 of the members got together who never met each other before, never seen each other before, and were talking probably for 20 or 30 minutes after the book club and realizing they had so many different things in common, and they would never have met or made that connection had they not come to a book club at the library. So I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation. I hope it's encouraged you to reach out and find out about our book clubs in the library system, both the ones in person and the ones done in the evening via Zoom. So if you have a family, you have a busy schedule, you're working, you too can be included. I hope if you're someone thinking about starting a book club, you do and realize the library has a lot of free resources for you to use. And if you're thinking about, I don't know if I want to stay with this book club, it's been kind of the same old after several years, that you give an opportunity, give some ideas to your moderator or get some ideas yourself as the moderator of maybe some ways you could change it up in 2022. And happy National Library Card Sign-Up Month. Make sure you sign up for your library card at one of your 6 branches and 2 bookmobiles, and I'll see you next time. Happy reading.